At its heart, yeah, it's a relationship story, and it's somber. Parts of it are depressing, and it's about something, letting go and all that. But that's the spice on the meal. But the meal is a rip-roaring, pretty kind of scary haunted house, haunted woods adventure story. Boy, am I enjoying this game so far. This is Banishers Ghost of New Eden. It is from the guys who made Life is Strange, Don't Nod. And let's put it this way. I was going to stream it, but I'm enjoying the narrative so much and being in the world so much that I don't want to make this a stream game. I want this to be a thing I do for myself. It's just a joy to be in the world right now. A reviewer compared it to like Tim Burton's Legend of Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp. It's got that kind of cold November, bruised sky, horror, western, ghost stories vibe going. I just love it. The characters are great. The narrative is great. How some of the narrative affects the gameplay is great. The gameplay is probably the weakest link of Banishers. The combat's fine. It's enjoyable-ish. It's not offensive. It's kind of got some interesting points. It's a little more linear than I wish for a world that didn't look so linear. And people say that the combat outweighs its welcome. And so after 5 hours, a lot of people are still saying they love it, but they love it because they love the story and the characters. And the combat itself is just like, oh my God, it's something you feel obligated to do because you can't see the rest of it without doing the combat. So I don't know how I'll feel once I get longer into it, but I will say this is absolutely, as a new franchise, as narrative, as characters, it's really, really good. I have to assume this will be on a Game Pass or PS Plus, and it's a little less expensive. It's not a $70, it's like a $50 game. You'll be able to get it. I don't know how well it's going to do, but it's going to be one of those, you know, if nothing else, a cult classic, because it's really worth talking about. It's really worth playing. It's just really well done. And you know what I'll say? Let me say one more thing about it real quick. People say, well, Jaffe, aren't you always beating up on Naughty Dog games or whatever because you're like, oh, they're so serious, they're so full of themselves. And not all of Naughty Dog's games are like that. Certainly, I didn't have a problem. I love Last of Us Part 2. And even Ragnarok had the problem. Here's why this is different, though. At its heart, yeah, it's a relationship story, and it's somber, and it's kind of parts of it are depressing, and it's about something, letting go and all that, blah, blah, blah. But none of that gets in the way. Like that's the subtext, or that's the spice on the meal. But the meal is a rip-roaring, pretty kind of scary haunted house, haunted woods adventure story. And that's what takes the spotlight. And then they take all of that sort of adulting stuff, and that's there, and the game benefits from it being there. But it's not like, look at us, we're doing big boy stuff. It's like, no, we're telling a story, and part of telling a story for adults is making sure the characters aren't cardboard cutouts. But first and foremost, it's a really fun horror adventure game. And I will just say it's worth your time. How is the combat in Banishers? It's functional. It works for the story. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but let's just say the way both characters interface and interact during the combat is clever and interesting. It's engaging, but it's not like they had Eric Williams and Derek Daniels and Cory Barlog doing the combat, or the guys who did Spider-Man. This is the kind of combat I thought I was getting with God of War originally. When people said, you know, the combat was as fluid and great as it is in the first God of War because of Cory, Derek, and Eric. I was like, look, if the combat's as good as Medieval, that's all I care about. To me, the combat is in God of War was originally about, you know, it's part of the adventure, but it's not the bread and butter. To me, that's what this game feels like, the combat. If you're coming to this from a combat standpoint and you want that, then this is not the game for you. This is the game for you if you are curious, interested, engaged in the genre, the story, the characters, the adventure they're on. And the combat is totally functional. Ravenu says, I'll try a demo if they ever make one. I think you'll see it on PS Plus trials before they make a demo, but we'll see.